All right. So we are here for our second student-led internship discussion. And as always, I'm not going to say much because I know that you don't want to hear from me. You want to hear from all the students. So I'm going to start right with Jordan. You're going to start us off.
Thank you. Well, my name is Jordan Motto. I am a sophomore at Merrimack, and I did my internship this semester at Parallels Consulting. It is based in Florida, so this was a fully Zoomed internship. So they don't have a mission statement, but a big thing on their site is this work has a singular goal, and it's for you to live your fullest potential. So they do work with minors, but currently they don't have any that are active in practice. So as of right now, their population in ages 20 to 88, the office provides six different services to people with various health issues. Their services are relational issues, trauma, executive functioning, generational trauma, gambling, and adolescent issues. So, Josephine, I'm going to call her Josie for the remainder of the presentation because that's her nickname. Josephine Tynes is a founder of Parallels Consulting. She has a remarkable educational and professional background. She holds both a bachelor's and master's in social work from Florida Atlantic University and a master's in healthcare leadership from Brown University. In addition to her advanced degrees, Josie is certified as an international gambling counselor, and she's also certified to treat compulsive behaviors such as shopping, stealing, spending, and hoarding. Josie is also an adjunct assistant professor at Brown University, where she teaches in the Department of Services, Policy, and Practice. Her professional focuses include providing intensive therapy sessions for individuals and families, and as well as executive coaching to help leaders enhance their personal and professional health growth. Sorry. So although there's 13 people working at this site, I got to work so far with four of these amazing people. Sean, who is Josie's husband and co-founder of Parallels, is specialized in case assessment and management, treatment, field navigation, and individual and family coaching. Sean provides personalized support, guidance, and action-based coaching for family members of those struggling with mental health and substance use. We have Marky, who is the practice manager, and Marky oversees critical day-to-day operations such as scheduling, billing, and administrative support for their team. Marky showed me how everything's done for the business, how pay works, scheduling, and pretty much everything behind the scenes of the company, which I thought that was a really cool experience. Next, we have Kristen, and she's a behavioral coach with a strong background in trauma-informed care and evidence-based therapeutic techniques. She specializes in eating disorders and helps clients achieve lasting personal growth by building practical skills to manage the emotions and, all those mental health obstacles. And her approaches integrates DBT and CBT, which I've seen her do, which was very really cool to watch. And the last person I've worked with so far is Dr. Campo. He is a fellow of the American Psychiatric Association and a diplomat of the American Board of Addiction Medicine. He is board certified in psychiatry and addiction medicine and is a member of several medical societies. And he's also taught at addiction medicine workshops around the world, like New York, Florida, and Dubai, which is I thought was really cool. And then that link is further, you get to see pretty much everybody who works at the site. So for my role in this internship, I got to observe and assist experienced doctors, coaches, and therapists during their counseling sessions with their clients. And this involved me listening to their approaches, understanding how they manage different situations, and learning their techniques for providing support and fostering trust during therapy or coaching calls. And I was able to follow professionals as they navigate their daily routines, including meetings, client appointments, and administrative tasks. And it kind of got me to have an inside look into how they manage their time, balance their responsibilities, and prepare for sessions. So why parallels counseling? Why did I choose this site? Um, Going into this, I got to talk to Josie, and she was telling me some of the things that I was able to do. So getting to shadow counseling sessions, experiencing the opportunity to observe live counseling sessions where I could see firsthand how professionals interact with clients in real time, definitely drew me to the site. This site offered a wide range of services offered by professionals such as individual therapy, family counseling, and specialized treatments for issues like addiction, trauma, mental health disorders, etc. And since I don't necessarily know what I want to do in the future, this gave me a lot of choices to, look at and explore, which that also drew me to the site. And there's a lot of different professions at this site, like neuropsychologists, psychiatrists, behavioral and experimental therapists, trauma-informed therapists. So I got to see what they do and how how they approach their type of therapy. And also, Josie's story definitely drew me to this site. I got to learn about her personal journey and the experience that led her to establish Parallels Consulting. Her story is definitely has growth and a deep commitment to helping others overcome challenges that she's also faced in the past. And I definitely gained a deeper appreciation for her mission and her values that drives her to work. Honestly, the challenges at this site is just it's not in person. Unless, I mean, they did offer me to go to Florida, which I definitely will take on over the summer, which I'm very excited about. I get to see it firsthand. But for this semester, I think the only challenge was it not being in person. It's always a different experience getting to be there and interact like that. But I did have a really great time with this internship. And so I asked Josie what she sees how she sees it in the future. And she said, I want to continue to provide top-notch clinical care, supervision to my team, and also implement business strategies to enable sustainable growth.
Right.
Hmm. And that is it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. Maddie, you are up next. Okay.
Is that okay if I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So my internship was at Windrush Farms. It's out of North Andover, Mass. I think a lot of people have heard of it from previous presentations as well. So yeah. So their mission statement is Windrush Farm promotes confidence, independence, and well-being in children and adults with physical, cognitive, emotional challenges through therapeutic riding and horse-related programs. So I think for their mission statement, what stood out to me the most was promoting confidence and independence. I think especially for a lot of these kids, it's really hard to find programs that are promoting that independence factor that a lot of parents look for, or especially just adults in their mid 30s. Um, I also feel like the farms programs contribute to like overall mental, physical, and emotional health, overall like improving their quality of life. Um, and these are like the main activities offered at Windrush where individuals engage in horse riding and other activities that involve horses. I know for me personally, I work with more of the kids in Lawrence, which is based more like learning how to read, learning how to write, and then also promoting that horse factor, which is what they get the most excited for. Um, so they usually serve kids from age 6 and up who have special needs. Um, and there's a wide variety of different emotional, physical, and developmental challenges that they kind of treat, mainly like ADHD, autism, palsy, Down syndrome, fetal alcohol syndrome, and they also do a lot of work with dementia residents. That's my, I think, favorite population to work with for sure, just because I also have a background um, in that kind of stuff. So the picture on the right is our CEO, Janet Nittman. She's kind of my main form of contact. For me personally, I'm an intern and I also work with sidewalking, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. She's the chief officer, which not a lot of programs you're usually speaking to a CEO. Usually it's like that COO or the CFO or that kind of thing, or writing instructors. But she's so open to reaching out and finding students at Merrimack and that kind of thing. I don't really have a lot of, I haven't really talked to the COO or CFO, but they also work there as well. They're not usually in office, they're usually virtually. But the main two people I talk with are Janet, who's the CEO, or the writing instructors, which are PATH certified, which just means that they're specifically trained in like therapeutic writing and that kind of thing. And also training us, especially the volunteers, to be like, this is the approach we use rather than something different. So it's great having that kind of role as kind of belonging to this small little community because it helps you kind of direct you in the right path and learn a lot more things that you didn't expect you were going to learn. We also have our barn and facility team. They mainly just take care of the horses, but I know a lot of them are also sidewalkers and also do horse handling as well. For horse handling, that is kind of what they almost lead the horses around the ring, but they have a lot more value than just that, especially keeping safety precautions and that kind of thing. Um, Sidewalking, I think I briefly touched on that, but it's also working with volunteers who assist in keeping participants safe during riding activities. So whether that's putting your hand over the top of their leg when they're riding the horse just to make sure they're not falling off or keep staying kind of protected in that sense, but also just more focusing on the client that's at hand. So sidewalkers are mainly involved with talking to the client, making sure that they're engaged in the activity and that kind of thing, while horse handlers are more like, is the horse's behavior reflecting such and such? Um, and then we also have our intern, which is more of the remote role for me. I just had surgery, so that's kind of easier for me currently rather than sidewalking. So that's a great way to get involved. A majority of the time, interns are doing a variety of different things, whether making posters for the arena, reaching out to different programs like Endicott, saying like, "Hi, my name is Maddie. I work for such and such. Can we talk a little bit more about getting your students involved?" Which is a really great aspect of the program as well. So role of an intern. So for me personally, I know it's always different depending on the person you're going to ask. Like, oh, maybe I work more in the barn, but for me personally, it's assisting with therapeutic riding, sidewalking, and I do a lot of research for mainly horseback riding in relation to anxiety and that kind of thing. So that's my main, I guess, goal and what I kind of was excited about for the most, especially because of like learning about the impact, because not many people know about like horse handling and that kind of thing, or sidewalking, or involving kids with special needs in these kind of programs. So I think that's amazing to kind of invent some more research into the psychology fields. Some administrative tasks, I think I touched briefly on that, kind of this posters in the arena, that kind of thing, like organizing schedules, reaching out to people. And then facility and horse care. I sometimes am a horse handler, but I do have that previous background in horses. But I think the best thing to know is you don't need previous experience as a horse handler. So personal experience, why did I choose this placement? I have a huge passion for therapeutic practices. Although that's not really my end goal, I ended up kind of changing into nursing, more kind of going through the psychology field. And I think for a lot of people who are psychology majors, we often think, oh, they're going to end up into therapy or that kind of thing. So it's really hard to kind of distinguish, I guess, the difference between like, oh, maybe this girl is actually going pre-med. So I feel like the passion is kind of there. And not only is it important to kind of understand the psychology part about it, you learn so many other parts of it that I think is just amazing. Some challenges that I faced. It's a huge time commitment, I will say that. For someone who's an athlete, and it took me all the way to my senior year to kind of get to the internship program, it is a huge, huge time commitment. But I feel like that's with anything you do. A learning curve for sure. I feel like for me, when I first started riding horses, it's way different than having a young child on the horse that you're trying to kind of maneuver between different things. There are some physical demands. For me personally, I can't walk. So I think that's something to note. If you can't really lift a certain amount or you're nervous around horses, this is not really the program for you. And also just emotional challenges too. With everything in life, there's going to come some sort of emotional aspect of it. So it's important to kind of remember and be open-minded. What did I like most so far? I would say the collaboration aspect and the hands-on experience is probably my favorite part. Although I really like the research aspect of it, I feel like collaborating with different types of people, learning their backgrounds and that kind of thing, more in a different type of non-structured environment, rather something like in an office or that kind of thing, is really important. And that's it. They're currently looking for more people to hire. So if anyone would like to join, you can feel free to email.
Great. Thank you. All right. Kyle, you are up next. All right. Okay.
All right. Am I good to go?
Yes, you're all set.
Cool. All right. So right now I'm going to talk about my internship with Coaching for Change. So first up, what is Coaching for Change? So this organization, I guess is the best word for it. They're extremely passionate, and when you go on their website, every page you can pretty much find a new quote with a new mission statement about what they're doing. So right here, I have one that pretty much summarizes the whole thing. So Coaching for Change accelerates learning through mentoring in underserved school districts. C4C trains talented, diverse college students as mentors through its paid internship program. College mentors provide academic and social emotional support to K through 12 students. So to go a little bit more in depth into that population, that target population, Coaching for Change works to serve with high need underserved schools. They work in schools in 10 districts across all of Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and they serve students all through grades kindergarten through 12th grade. In my particular experience, I'm working with the sixth graders at the Leonard Middle School in Lawrence, Massachusetts. So the key staff that I've been working with the most through this internship. First off, we have Marquise Taylor. He is the CEO of Coaching for Change. He started the organization while he was in grad school because he grew up in a low-income community and wanted to give back by helping kids realize that where you start is not where you have to end up. Next, we have Nariah Benjamin. She is the college coordinator for schools in Massachusetts. She's pretty much your direct contact between yourself and the organization. She's who I talk to the most. And she actually started as a college mentor herself and then kind of grew into this role. Then Henry Rodriguez, he is the coordinator of student support for the Leonard Middle School, where I'm actually doing my internship. And he serves as my coach or direct supervisor, as well as for the other mentors who are working at the school. So what is the mentor's role? First off, I sort of have like a general overview of it. So mentors support students in whatever areas they/the school need. The four big ones that Coaching for Change focuses on are academics, behavior, attendance, and learning. Mentors should establish and build relationships with a consistent group of students as well as the school staff. This can be through like one-on-one work with students, group works with whole classrooms, things like that. And then you work with the teachers and the staff to build plans to best help those students who you're working with. And then my particular experience to get a little more in depth here. So I work 10 hours a week, 9 to 12 Tuesday and Thursday, and then 10 to 2 Friday. I made that schedule completely. We'll get into that, but they're very flexible. I work with one homeroom throughout the whole day. So I build relationships with the students in that homeroom, and I've sort of figured out which ones need a little bit more help and attention than the other ones. And I'm sort of just there to assist the teachers however I possibly can. So it's similar to a TA type of role. So I'll work with students to do classwork that they may be struggling with, or take students on walks, talk to them to help recenter, refocus them, to help them, lock back in on whatever academics they should be doing. And a big role for me personally is helping facilitate lunch and recess. They're a bit understaffed during these parts of the day, so I definitely feel like helping out during that is much appreciated, especially because recess gets pretty intense with their basketball games. So for some of the challenges that I've found working with Coaching for Change. First off is the mandatory C4C events. So there are multiple events that you're going to have to attend both before and after you're hired. Most of these are quick, like 1 hour Zoom calls for like orientation or skills training, things like that. But the biggest inconvenience I faced in this regard was having to go to Fall River from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on a random Saturday for like training slash orientation. All this Coaching for Change staff had to go from like all over the schools. And honestly, the training did prove valuable in the end, but it was a bit of a hassle to do. Next up, we have parking. So because most of these schools that Coaching for Change works with, including Leonard Middle School where I'm at, they're in urban city areas, parking can be pretty tough to figure out. Actually, on my first day, I spent like literally like 15, 20 minutes trying to figure out where to park. And still, like to this day, every day I show up, I don't really know where I'm gonna find a spot. So that's definitely a challenge. And hopefully, if you end up working this internship, you know how to parallel park because it is very useful. Next up, we have lack of direction at first. The at first is the important part. My first week or two at the school, I really didn't really know what I was doing. Because at the time I hadn't had that real training in Fall River like I talked about. I felt like I was just kind of sitting around, standing around in the classroom. I wasn't really sure if I was helping out or how I could help out. I didn't want to step on any toes or anything. But the training helped with this, as well as just spending more time at the internship and at the school with the kids. You sort of learn how the school operates, where things are, how the schedule works, and who you're around. It makes you feel a lot more comfortable and like confident to step up when you feel you should. Um, it's mostly up to you though to take that first step, and it's more than okay to ask how to do that. I've asked so many questions while I've been working here. And then last up, student behavior. This is probably the biggest challenge because it's pretty much the reason why they have us mentors there in the first place. Each student naturally has like their own quirks, their own struggles, and some are going to be a lot more prominent than others. You may hear things like swearing at teachers, students like refusing to do work. You'll see fights, maybe running in and out of classrooms, running in the hallway, things of that nature. You just have to be prepared to see these things and know your own limits and how you choose to handle these things. You're not Superman, like it's not your job to show up and magically fix everything. So stepping back from things like this, especially those more physical situations, and letting the school staff step in is more than okay. So why did I choose Coaching for Change and how has it been? So I'll start with the why. So first of all, the mission. The mission really spoke to me, and I fully support the idea that people, no matter where they are or whatever else their circumstances might be, they have all the potential in the world, but they just might not feel and might not have the opportunities. So being able to make a difference in that regard stood out to me above anything else when I was looking at sites. Next up, working with kids and particularly the school psychology experience. So I've worked with kids for like many, many years now, and I know that it's something that I enjoy and I find really rewarding. And this has seriously led me to consider like going into the educational field and especially as a school psychologist. And this internship provides me with pretty unmatched experience with this idea. I basically work and talk to the school guidance counselors like every day. I've met with the school psychologist before. I've gotten hands-on experience like developing behavior plans and like behavioral assessments for certain students. So doing things like that is an awesome experience that definitely drew my attention. Uh, Supportive staff. The staff at Coaching for Change has been nothing short of awesome, even like before I was hired. They're super organized and they make things simple for you to understand. And they provide a steady stream of emails and communications to make sure that you're doing everything that you need to do, both before you're hired, while you're hired, everything in between. And they're super understanding. Like I missed a meeting once, like I forgot to submit paperwork, everything in between, and they were super supportive and helped me figure that out for myself. And then schedule flexibility, like I touched on a little bit earlier. So once I was hired, Coaching for Change essentially like allowed me to choose my own schedule as long as it met that like 10 hours a week threshold. Um, the only limit is in my particular case at Leonard Middle School, mentors can't work Wednesdays because the school has a bunch of meetings set up for Wednesdays. Um, but yeah, so I made my first schedule, and like 2 days later, I realized I hated that schedule, and I emailed Naraya, who I talked about earlier. and just change my schedule like that, and it was totally fine. They're super flexible, super understanding in that regard. So how has it been so far? First of all, it's been a process. It takes a bit to learn the ropes, like I talked about before, and it also takes some time to build that rapport and the relationship with those students you're working with. And having that in place is basically the key to having them respect you, listen to you, and even care about you showing up. This is not a bad thing at all, though, because I've enjoyed the role personally more every single week, and I feel I'm continuously like improving and getting better at how I'm doing it. It's also been rewarding. So much of what I just said leads into why this is rewarding. I've seen students go from like some of the rowdiest like kids I've ever seen to sitting with me and doing their assignments during class. I've seen them be legitimately excited whenever I show up and ask when I'll be coming back. A couple by now have even started to figure out my schedule and when I'll be showing up, and they call me out if I'm late or things like that. In just like a few short weeks, it's great to feel like you're making that sort of impact. And great experience. This is more talking about the school psychology thing, like I talked about. It's an incredible opportunity to see things from like that perspective. All experience is good experience, but being able to talk to people in the field about what they do, how they do it, ask them questions, ask for advice, then actually be able to go out there and sort of implement it. It's super awesome. And it's piqued my interest in the school psychology field even further than it was before. And yeah, that is it for me. I have these QR codes on the screen that I pulled from the website. It's just videos from some people important to the organization talking about what the organization does and why it matters. So thank you.
Neat, thank you. All right. Nathan, you are up next.
Am I good to go?
Yeah, go for it.
So, my name is Nathan Wolf. I'm a junior at Merrimack, and my internship this semester was at Shed Children's Campus in Andover, Massachusetts. Um, Their main mission is all about curiosity-driven learning. This is a quote I pulled from their website. It says that we believe that children are not things to be molded, but people to be unfolded, and that as educators, it is our job and responsibility to nurture a child's innate curiosity and desire to learn. It is our mission to create safe spaces in which every child can thrive. Um, the target population for Shed is um, kindergarten through eighth grade, at least what I do. I work, I intern at an after school program, and they have ages kindergarten through eighth grade. I specifically work with kindergarteners. So I guess Shed, their target population is people who have kids in those age ranges that all, and every kid goes to Andover school. So it's from kids all over Andover. Um, yeah, that's their target population. And for the staff, the woman on the left is Dina Hurley. She's my direct supervisor. She's the one who I contacted for the internship and the one that I kind of stay in contact with if I have any questions. She's been with the company since '92, which is when it was formed. So she's been there for a long time. And she graduated from Wheelock College with a bachelor's in human development and a concentration in child life. Um, and then on the right is Maggie Hurley, who is her daughter, and she's kind of been my co-teacher with the kindergarteners in the after-school program. She's worked for the company basically since she's been able to work, um, because obviously her mom being one of the main owners and runners of it, she's always been around. So, and she went to college. She graduated from Roger Williams, but yeah. And then the internship role, like I said before, it's an after school program. So the main thing that I do is I just kind of supervise activities or plan out activities for the kids to do for that day. The program itself runs from 3:30 to 6. I go every day except Thursday because that's when I have my internship class. But I'm pretty much just there supervising, engaging with the kids, coming up with activities for them to do. Some things that we do, we like to get them outside a lot. So we'll play outside, like organized sports. We'll play a lot of soccer or some basketball. In the winter, we did some sledding because there's hills around on the campus of the school. So the kids loved sledding. Um, Other than that, just tag, other childhood games that you would play. And then indoors, we'll also do some coloring. We got a lot, the kindergartners this semester, they loved making slime, so we let them do that. Sometimes we also baked. We made things like monkey bread and cinnamon rolls, and then other than that, just like reading to the kids, and then basic pretend play that kids do. There is, like I said before, there is a lot of different age groups. But each age group generally does the same things. Obviously, they'll kind of stick towards their groups. I noticed that kindergarteners first and second they kind of stick together and are able to play with each other. But then anyone older kind of sticks together. Like if we're playing soccer outside and then the older kids come up, they kind of take over the game and we kind of move elsewhere. But that's my role as intern. Like I said, I mainly just kind of supervise, keep an eye on the children. I'll play with them. I'll just kind of make sure everything runs smoothly. And then why I chose Shed. Number one, it's close to school. So my situation is I didn't know if I was gonna have a car coming into this semester. I ended up not. So I wanted to get an internship that was close to school. I still don't have a car and I walk every day. The distance is walkable. It's not too hard on me. I actually enjoy the walk. But other than that, from the moment I kind of went in there and got interviewed and got a feel for the place. I sensed it was a really fun and caring environment, and I really liked that. And their mission statement for the curiosity driven learning, I really enjoyed. I know as a kid, I was given opportunities to kind of play outside and explore, which I really loved. And I know that if there was a place like this for me when I was a kid growing up, I would have loved it just to be able to not have, like, there's obviously rules, but there's you're allowed to explore and kind of be a kid in ways that kids want to do. So I love that. And then I worked with kids a little bit, so I kind of knew what to expect going into it, and I enjoy working with kids, so that's another reason why I decided to work for Shed. Some challenges, like I said before, the after school program that I am interning for is 2.5 hours a day. Um, You can go 5 days a week if you have the time, but a challenge for that is it could be hard kind of racking up hours since you're only able to work for such short periods of time throughout the week. So if you can only work 2 days a week, it's going to be really hard getting those hours in if you're not available all the time. And then just kind of with any kind of profession with kids, you need problem solving skills and you need to be resilient because there's going to be some issues or a kid can act up and you need to be able to stay calm and kind of control that and make sure everything goes okay. And then also I think this is more specific for me since there was some licensing stuff going on, but at first I didn't have to do any like paperwork and whatnot, but then like halfway through my internship, they said, "Oh, I have to like submit physicals, all this stuff right away," and they wanted it like as soon as possible. And so I was obviously scrambling to try and make all these appointments to get like fingerprints and all that stuff. And I remember I messed up with my physical. I made an appointment at a place that I couldn't get a physical because, to be honest, I never made my own doctor's appointments before, and I never set up a primary care because I'm not from Massachusetts. So I had to go through that, and then so I messed up that appointment, and then they were very understanding and like, oh no, it's okay. We know it's like a lot. You have to do a lot right now. So just they were just like thanking me and very understanding of my situation and the situation in general. So that is part of what I like most. So it was a challenge, but it kind of leads into what I like most about it. Um, what also I like most is the outside play. As a kid, I was always outside, so having it's nice for kids to get fresh air and be able to just run around and let loose. So all that outside time I really like. And like I mentioned before, with why I chose them, the curiosity-driven learning I like. And then also working there, I feel like a very strong sense of community. Everyone's happy, everyone's like engaged with each other, everyone knows each other, the staff. And I feel like I was welcomed into my position very easily. Everyone was just nice to me, and I already feel like I've only been working there for a couple months, and I already feel like I've been there longer than I actually have. And I love the people that I've met there. And then I also work with the same group of kids every day, so it's easy and it's nice to kind of build relationships with those kids that I work with every day. You get to see familiar faces, and that's always nice. Um, that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. And last but not least, we've got Becca and Emily.
Okay, so Becca and I are doing our internship at Crest Collaborative. Um, and Crest Collaborative is located in Andover on 20 Shattuck Road, Andover, Mass. 01810.
Their mission statement is to elevate every learner together, and they really prioritize acceptance, belonging, collaboration, and growth for every student. They have a lot of different programs within the school itself. So this is just 6 of them. They say that there's 8. I know that they do visions, which is like older people with other disabilities are able to work there. And that's a program that they have, but I'm not sure what the 8th one is, but
Yeah, I'm not sure.
so they have Lower Essex, which is primarily social emotional disabilities, pre-K to middle school. Emily and I work very closely with Lower Essex. There's Upper Essex, which is emotional, behavioral, and specific learning needs for high school students. Lifeways is autism spectrum disorders and intellectual disabilities for pre-K to middle school. I also work with those students as well.
And then there is EPIC, which is intensive special needs, multiple disabilities, and those who are medically fragile. Then we have Merrimack Academy, which focuses on emotional, behavioral, or academic needs, or students with complex at-risk backgrounds from middle school to high school. And lastly, they have LifeWorks, which is autism, spectrum disorders, and intellectual disabilities, which is high school. I work as my position only in the Lower Essex program. So
I work with Lower Essex, Lifeways, and then I don't work with Merrimack Academy, but my supervisor's office is in Merrimack Academy, so I get exposed to them a lot. There's a lot of different staff that work at Crest, so there's a lot of support built in. Because they're mainly supporting social emotional goals and behavior oriented goals, a lot of their staff is therapeutic staff, but they have teachers for preschool to pre-K to high school. They have vocations in the high school level, so there's a lot of teachers. A lot of the students are on one-to-one ratios, so they have a support staff or a mentor that works with them all day long. And then we have BCBAs, there's art therapists, music therapists, counselors, speech therapists, occupational therapists, just clinicians in general. Like there's so many.
there's so many like staff and each have a role. I work a lot with the clinicians because we have clinical meetings every week. And I see the speech teacher a lot. They come in and do speech with the kids one-on-one, which they enjoy very much. The teacher is awesome. She's very nice. So yeah, that's a great way to help them that way. So the director of Lower Essex program is Bessie. She's my supervisor, but I also have 2 other supervisors, kind of all of them. Like I can go to any one of them, but Bessie's like the main woman who's kind of in charge of everything. And she is really great. If I have any questions, I'll go to her or the two others. Her name's Michaela and Rachel. They are phenomenal as well.
My supervisor is Eric. He is the board certified music therapist. He works with Merrimack Academy, Lower Essex, and Lifeways. I really just work with Lower Essex and Lifeways. Merrimack Academy is usually on the days I'm not there, which is fine with me because it's not my desired population. But yeah.
So my role is Lower Essex program. I work with kids who have severe behavior problems and help them through their day. It is more of a therapeutic environment and less academic focus. So mainly we focus on ways on how the kids should respond to others, use proper language, interact with the kids. And academics is not their main focus. Like if they do a couple math problems or they read a couple of their phonics, like that is more than good enough for them. And even just for them to behave and interact with one another is the main focus of what I do and I help them with.
I work directly with my supervisor, who is a board certified music therapist, and engage students in music sessions. I help him lesson plan. I engage with students, and I've started leading sessions as well. We like a lot of the students call him the music teacher, and they'll do that with a lot of the therapists, like speech, occupation, reading, all those things, because and as my supervisor explained it to me, the students typically have so many therapeutic services that if you tell them like, okay, it's time to go to like say music therapy, they're going to be kind of oppositional in the fact that they're like, oh, I have to go to another therapy. So we just let them say like music class. Someone asked me today when I'm going to be a music teacher. So we just go with it.
I chose Crest and to be in Lower Essex because I love the community and working with the kids who have severe mental behavioral issues, although it is super challenging. Crest was kind of a site where it was more of what I was looking for to do in the future and work with kids ages 5 to 12 or middle school and elementary school. So it's been great so far.
I chose Crest primarily because my goal is to be a music therapist, and it was like one of the only places I could find in the area that I could work directly with a music therapist. I also chose Crest because ideally I'd like to work with nonverbal children who are on the spectrum and use music as a way to help them learn to communicate. And at Crest, that is something that I get to do, which is amazing. So one of the challenges for me is I only have one supervisor. So if my supervisor is not there, I don't get to go in. And that was really challenging because, there was 1 week he got COVID, so I didn't get to go in. The following week was a school vacation. And then unfortunately he had to go to a funeral. So it was just kind of like piggybacking, and I am on track to get my hours, but it was kind of difficult to just not be able to go for that many times in a row because there's no one else that I can really work with.
I sometimes have trouble keeping in touch with my supervisor since I could have like two to choose from. Sometimes I don't know where to go. I go to one mainly, which is fine, but sometimes I'd have trouble reaching out to like my main supervisor. And separating my emotions from Crest and college life. That's been super challenging throughout this semester because I am seeing and hearing so many things that are just bothersome and just things I'm not used to. And I have to learn to separate that and know that I'm there to help them. I'm not there to take on their emotions and behaviors. Like I'm the one who's supposed to like help them in a way. So that's pretty challenging for me.
Some of the things that I like are, first of all, the experience in music therapy. It's not something I've ever been able to participate in before. So learning how to facilitate, get students to engage, it's really rewarding for me. And also just the students, they have so many unique personalities. They're so fun. But I also love that I'm kind of building a network, even if it's one music therapist at a time. Like my supervisor, every day after our last session, we'll go and like we'll debrief, we'll talk about the day, we'll plan for the next week. And if I have even the most random questions, I have a safe space and a safe person that I can ask those questions to and get good answers for.
I love the students as well. They're so fun to be around. Like when I walk in, I observe two classrooms, and the first classroom, there's a student who literally is obsessed with me, just wants to be with me like 24/7. And it makes my day knowing that I make their day and make them laugh and make them smile, and love interacting with each and every one of them. And when they smile, it's rewarding for me because when I go there, I know that I make their day just a lot better. So it's really nice to see. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. All right. So, fun fact about Crest, my supervisor for art therapy grad school and post grad for my art therapy registration was the art therapist at Crest. She retired before they moved to the Andover site, but she was the art therapist there for a long time. So I was at the old Crest building when they used to be in Methuen. So she is why I know a lot about the school. So that's really cool. So before we wrap up, I would love if anyone has any advice or thoughts for students that are either currently searching for an internship or they haven't done an internship yet, but it's sort of on their radar. Is there anything that you would tell them? Just anything at all.
Um, I could say some. I would just say to kind of make sure to follow like the deadlines or guidelines you set in your schedule. Just make sure you stay on top of all that, and also to kind of just reach out to almost anywhere you think. Don't think that, oh, I probably won't go here or whatnot, or if you're unsure if you could even go there, like in terms of like me, I applied to places that were far away, even though I didn't know I was gonna have a car. And I didn't think I was gonna have a car. And I didn't, but I still reached out and I still applied. And it's just better overall to have too many options where you have to decline some instead of not having enough, and then you're kind of forced to go somewhere and you're kind of upset, or maybe you don't even get an internship at all because you didn't apply to enough places. So that's just my bit of advice.
I like hearing things that I've said to students, said by students, makes me feel happy. So thank you, Nathan. All right, who else has anything?
I can go next. Yeah, I definitely would reiterate the whole don't procrastinate thing. It makes your life a lot more stressful than it really has to be. Um, and it does sort of limit your options if you wait too long. Um, but I would also say something that I honestly didn't necessarily take advantage enough of is talk to like the Merrimack faculty. So many of them have such like great connections and they can answer so many questions about like whatever like field you're interested about going in. They'll know about it. They'll know someone who can you can talk to about it. So I'd say above all else, just make sure you use your resources.
Absolutely.
Something that I would say is just keeping like an open mind when you're gonna start your internship, because you don't know what you're gonna see or what you're gonna face or what you're going to hear. It's just something that I've learned. Um, and just kind of going with the flow and just seeing like what it's all about. Like the process will be a little difficult, but just being on top of things and just kind of going with the flow, and not questioning and be like, oh, why do I have to do this? Like, why are they like that? Like, it's just all part of psychology and you don't know what you're going to face. So,
Absolutely. No, I agree with that. I think it's good to be open to anything because, especially in the beginning, I think a lot of people get nervous or put off by things, but it's just you haven't experienced it enough yet. So once you kind of get acclimated and more comfortable, it'll be a whole different experience. The tough thing about the semester-long internships is all of a sudden you feel really great and comfortable, and then you realize it's almost time to end the internship. So, it's a really great experience to have and kind of realize like all of a sudden it kind of clicks. So that's pretty cool. So it's good to hear that because I think people need that in the beginning when they're feeling kind of discouraged or unsure, that after a little while it'll feel good. Yeah.
Kind of along the same lines as what everyone else said, don't be afraid of rejection from a site because you'll end up finding the right fit. Because Crest was not my first choice at first, but my first choice declined me because of like something stupid. So I thought, at least if I get the same experience, like it's just as beneficial and just as worth it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that giving yourself options and being open to a place that might not be your first choice. I've heard that time and again, year after year, when we have these conversations, a lot of times students will say, this wasn't my first choice, but I actually really enjoy it and I'm glad I'm there. So that's a nice experience to have. And even if it's not the best experience, you're still learning and you can still learn from experiences that aren't the perfect fit for you, which is also helpful. So thank you all so much. I think it was really helpful to hear just what you're doing, but also how you feel about what you're doing. And I love the challenges because I think that helps other students figure out if sites are right for them. Um, but it's clear that you're all just having a good experience, which is great to hear. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate it.